Hey guys, this is Mark from Mark Reads Comics. This time, I went out hunting for some classic comics at this store called Rare Collectibles at the local mall, and I actually found the first issue of the 90's Catwoman series in decent condition and for a decent price. Let's take a look. The issue opens up with Catwoman robbing a museum, but she was caught by security since the silent alarm went off. Catwoman uses her agility, her whip, and her feminine wiles to take out the security guards and escapes with the loot. Catwoman goes into an alley and meets up with her partner in crime, Leopold, but they are joined by one of Bane's men named Bird. Bird takes the jewels and Catwoman asks for her cut. Bird says it's too suspicious to do so now and she will get her share soon. As Catwoman returns to her apartment with Leopold, we find out that Bane is currently running Gotham City. She has to hand over any stolen loot to him and then she gets a cut. At the apartment, Catwoman's roommate Arizona would call her Cell, short for Selina, in front of Leopold, but luckily he misunderstands it as her talking about selling something. Selina hands Leopold a magazine and says their next target should be the rich couple on the cover, the Derricourts. He heads off and says he'll see if Bane will approve this. After he leaves, Selina tells Arizona that she didn't go through the trouble of wiping out her real name from every file in the country just to have her blurted out in front of strangers. We find out that Arizona was a runaway and Catwoman rescued her and took her in some time ago. Selina reveals that she withheld some of the stolen jewels for herself, not wanting to be completely under Bane's control. Elsewhere, Bane is informed that there is a hitman in town looking for him, but they can't find out who sent him. Bane's men also can't discover the identity of Catwoman since every search they have leads to a fake name or someone who's already dead. Bane then calls for Leopold. Leopold shows up and tells Bane about the millionaire couple, the Derricourts, being a potential target. Bane approves of this but also warns them not to join Catwoman if she shows any signs of betrayal. Leopold assures him that if she does show any signs of this, he'll let him know. Bane realizes that Leopold has no loyalty towards Catwoman and gets an idea. Perhaps he can use one problem to take care of the other. Later on, one of Bane's men checks out a bar and finds a hitman, a guy named Guillermo. He tells him that Bane is in love with Catwoman, so taking her out will lure him out into the open. The man tells Guillermo he knows where to find a man that knows where Catwoman lives. And so, the big party begins and Burke and Tiffany Derricourt show up. Leopold is outside, disguised as one of the security guards as he waits for Catwoman. Once he's alone, however, Guillermo shows up and gets him at gunpoint. Burke Derricourt watches over the jewels as his wife steps out of the shower with the room being poorly lit. Tiffany tells them to keep the lights off for now and she asks him to put the jewels on her. She soon steps out to prepare for the party and greet the guests. But just then, the real Stephanie steps into the room and Burke realizes he had just given the jewels over to Catwoman. Later that night, Catwoman, Arizona, and Leopold check out the jewels. Catwoman explains that Tiffany was around the same size as her, which is why she chose the Derricourts as a target. Leopold takes his leave and walks past Guillermo, who is waiting outside. Back inside the apartment, Catwoman shows Arizona the extra jewels that she kept for herself, but suddenly, something scares off her cats. Outside of the apartment, Guillermo takes out a missile launcher and blows up the apartment. This was a good read and set up for the ongoing series. Obviously, Catwoman will survive this somehow, but the question is how, and also what she's going to do with both Bane and Guillermo after her. For some backstory, the series takes place during the time that Bane has broken Batman's back and has taken over the city in the Dark Knight's absence. Catwoman, and I assume other villains, aren't allowed to commit major crimes without Bane's permission and giving him the loot. The art's pretty good, and we get to see Selina use both her fighting skills as Catwoman and her craftiness when she posed as Burke's wife. She robbed the millionaire couple's most prized jewels right in the middle of a public party. Like, how smart is that? We do see that she's not all that bad, as she did rescue Arizona and gave her a home. A couple of funny things that stood out in the comic was, first of all, Leopold smoking and how everyone hates it. Arizona despises it, Selina was annoyed by it, and even one of Bane's men threatened to put him in the ground if he didn't put out the cigarette. Don't smoke, folks. And the other thing was the irony of a mouse being the thing that set off the silent alarm earlier in the comic. He was just nibbling on something, and I guess he just so happened to be in the area that triggers the alarm, and it's just something funny about a mouse foiling a cat's schemes. Overall, a good comic, and I'll be curious to hunt down the rest and grab more of this run. This is Mark from Mark Reads Comics. Keep on reading comics, and see you at the comic store.